my name is Sandy from OEM Audio Plus, and this is the installation video for the Reference 500 system for the new 2022 Subaru WRX. So here's the ensemble of tools that you will need to complete the installation on the 2022 Subaru WRX Reference 500 system. First and foremost, you need light. So when you're working inside, you can see everything you're working on. Socket bits, 10 millimeter, 12 millimeter. In this case, I'm using a 3/8 drive with a reducer and an extension, a 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench, an open box wrench on one end, Phillips screwdriver, a stubby so that you can get to the tight places. We have panel tools to allow you to loosen door panels, trim panels, etc. Scissors, so when you're using your electrical tape and masking tape to mask areas you don't want to get scratched. Crimper, so that when you're making your crimp connections, you know that you're properly doing them. Wire strippers, flush cutters, so when you're putting cable ties, you can trim them neatly. We do bring a box cutter in place because there's some cases you're going to need it, and we'll show you that during the installation. Pick tools makes life quite a bit easier, just because there are certain areas where you're going to need to reach in and you can't do it with your hand or your fingers. So having the pick tool to either pop something or pull something through is essential. Lastly, the electric screwdriver or screw gun is an option. It's not a necessity. I do use it because it expedites a lot of the processes that I'm used to, but it's an option. You don't need it. We do require and ask you to have either, some sort of protection when you're working around the trim panels. So what happens is, in this case, we just use some Costco microfiber towels. Here in the shop, we have these padded mats that we got from IKEA that works pretty well too. And lastly, one of the most essential things you got to get or have in your kitchen is the Ziploc bags, because when you're basically disassembling the car, particularly when it has hardware that you're removing, you need to be able to store them in these Ziploc bags, and with a Sharpie, mark exactly where those screws or clips came from. In addition, another option we use is, this is a magnetic screw tray. So if you don't have the Ziploc bags, or you prefer to just basically mash everything in one location, so if you're the type of a person who can find everything in one place, then this is a perfect solution. We got this at Harbor Freight Tools for next to nothing, and it really works. It's got a magnet in the bottom and it's metal on the top, so when you do this, everything sticks and nothing falls. Here are the components included in the Reference 500 kit for the 2022 Subaru WRX. Here is our 8-inch vehicle-specific subwoofer, along with the mounting hardware. The upgrade speakers, which include the 1-inch soft dome tweeters that go and replace the dash speakers, the 6x9 mid-woofers that go in the front doors, along with the speaker lead extensions, and of course the rear 6.5-inch full-range speakers for the rear doors. The wiring for the system consists of the quick sync wiring harness, a 14-foot subwoofer extension cable, the remote cable for the bass knob and the bass knob itself, 2 fuse holders, fuses, zip ties, and the split loop. And lastly, this is the complete amplifier assembly for the kit, which comprises of the 56-bit multi-channel DSP amplifier and the dedicated subwoofer amplifier, along with the interface cables and mounting hardware. So before you start your installation, make sure you have a full count of all the parts of your kit, as we described them earlier. It's really important so you don't have any snags and you don't have to stop and wonder if you're missing a part or not. Please recheck the packaging. Sometimes these things move during transit and you might miss a thing or two. Save your packaging in the event of a future situation. That's it. I start all my installs by replacing all the speakers first. To begin with, we're going to do the dash or instrument panel speakers. Using a plastic pry tool, I insert towards the edge, front edge of the grill to lift it. And basically what I'm trying to do is assist it by lifting it carefully until the first snap goes. Removing the A-pillar panel simply requires you pulling it out this way. There is a tether here that we will loosen later after we're done with pulling the entire assembly. So once you pulled it out, you lift it and put it out of the way. And that way you can access this. It's not necessary to remove this, but some people would prefer to have it away. Lift it, twist it, and take it out. Pull the grill out towards you. Take your number 2 Phillips, preferably a stubby, loosen the screws and remove them completely so that you can take out the factory tweeter. Once the tweeter is loose, flip it over and with one motion unlock it and pull the tweeter to your direction to release it. Installing your OEM tweeter is basically in reverse. You get the factory speaker connector and insert it, flip the tweeter over and line up the mounting holes, get the 2 Phillips screws and locate them and install them and tighten with the screwdriver. Reinstall back the grill and then reinstall back the A-pillar trim in reverse order. Now we're going to move into the front doors, and in particular what we're going to do is access all the screws that are hidden by panels. The first thing is this one by the door latch, where you take a pry tool like this and insert it towards the front end of that panel. The next one is this screw that's by the door handle, when you're going to need a pick tool. And basically what I do is I insert it on the wide edge and we basically try to pop it open and remove it. Using the panel tool, what I do is just create some spacing so that I can insert my fingers in there to help loosen the panel. Slowly, we loosen it one at a time. Now to remove it, you lift it and let it rest. Carefully swing the door panels. In this part, you need to make some movement adjustments to line up the holes because this speaker is a little bit oversized compared to the factory speaker. I start with the bottom hole and then I go to the upper top hole to secure the speaker in place. extended Pulley. Insert the pipe in here. Okay, you feel the spring unload, pull out. Loosen it so you can put a finger in, slowly pop it out. There's going to be a connection I have to disconnect over here. See how? The other three are these. Brown one. And a green one. Then a gray one. Okay, so we're gonna, this is the first one, which is the ground, chassis ground. And we just basically press it. It's in the middle. Okay. This comes next. GPS antenna. White 28-pin network connector. And then these two, which are 6-pin and 10-pin connectors, which will connect to our harness. You gotta remove the green and you gotta remove the blue. there is a light here that we need to unplug. I can basically pop it out for now. All right. So just a couple of information about the quick sync harness and the opposite ends of it, so that you understand how the harness installation is going to flow pathway wise. So this end is what we call the system connector, and this basically plugs and plays into the amplifier. Nothing more said about that. The other end of it is the head unit connectors, which aptly named, is going to run all the way to the back of the radio, and this part plugs into the radio, and this part plugs into the factory harness. So factory harness goes here, and our plugs plug into the radio. First thing we do is, what we're going to do is we're going to insert it in here, through here, and over here. Just want to make sure we get the length. Then these two. And the ground. Green goes here. Now we have to plug the top connectors. So what I did is I lined up the bracket to the line, and then now I'm going to mark it in the middle. And the reason I'm going to mark it towards the middle is I can move it back and forth. So if it's soft enough, theoretically, it should be able to pierce. Take this, we start one, take the other one, Beautiful. Specify the length by measuring it. Secure it with a cable tie. We're running two 10 gauge power wires directly to the battery, and one of them has a red tape indicator, which is basically, this is the power wire for the subwoofer amplifier, and the one without the red indicator is the power wire for the DSP amp. So subwoofer amp, DSP amp. Basically, we're going to run across to the other side. Start taking apart these things. Plant this here, down here, like that. So it actually does. And this one, we kind of put our hand behind here and pop it out. There we go. And then now we can run our power wire below the behind the pedals. Out of the way. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 clips that have to be removed. That's it. Other blue wire. So to make it easier to reinstall the inner fender liner, particularly in this edge by the vent, you need to loosen the fender flare clips underneath here. So you have to gently pry it open and let it unclip, but don't pull it far enough so that you're pulling on the adhesive tape that's securing the flare. So by doing that, you basically are just trying to snap it open like that. 2 snaps is all you need, and then you slip it in like this, and you see everything's lining up now accordingly, back in place, right? But yeah, that's the way to do it. Okay, first thing we do is we unsnap this one here, and then we unsnap over here, and follow through, unclip on the edge like that, and that's voila. Make sure that these snaps are in place, and we can clip it and unclip it. Again, we use this so that we can get to that. Make sure all clips are in place. 1, 2, 3, 4. This end of the cable underneath here so that it doesn't create a bulge and it's out of the way of the factory wiring. .120 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to scrape the paint out of there all the way to the bare metal. And then you take our ground. What we'll do is put the factory ground down first, put our ground there over it. There we go. Subwoofer umbilical cable that basically runs from the amp through the side to the back, across the trunk and into the subwoofer. Each end is marked of which part is connected to where. So this one gets connected to the amplifier, and this side gets connected to the sub. Same thing that we're going to do here. We're going to run it underneath. There you go. Get it behind the seat belt. Now I'm excited to see it fire up. Whew. There you go.